Setting off on the first overnight trip of the year. I'm probably going to stay down in the forest as the forecast is for storms high up and clouds are racing across the sky. Highest tops are in the cloud. There's snow higher up, nothing down here, but I think a peaceful night in the forest is what's called for. I'll swing round to show the view as I set off. And this is the landscape looking towards the Cairngorms, the higher tops mostly hidden in the clouds. The snow you can see just up there, and then around over the woods to snow-capped Mila Buckle, which is just below the clouds. It's a fine view, and now to see what the woods have to offer. A partly frozen Lochs. When I was last here in September, it was the driest I'd ever seen it. It's certainly not dry now. In fact, it's flooded the surrounding land in places after all the rain and of course snow melt that we've had. This is the confluence of the Druy, the smaller burn on the left, which runs out of the Larry Guru, and the Ambini, which runs out of Glenfeshie, and as you can see is much bigger and very noisy. Pitched just before dark, light drizzle falling. It's a site I've used before, though not as far as I can remember for several years. It's a pleasant spot, sheltered by woods on one side, but fairly open, as you'll see as I walk round the site, on the other. And near enough the river for getting water for cooking and drinks, but far enough away that the noise won't disturb me. I can hear it here, but it's not loud and roaring as it is if you're right next to it. But as you can see, as I walk round this way, there is an open view there across heather from the tent, and I've pitched it so the door opens onto that, and also as protection from the breeze, which isn't very strong at the moment but is coming from the right, and I'm soon going to settle in for a long but hopefully pleasant January night, and tomorrow we will see. I probably won't be going up anything again, because looking up, those clouds are really moving quite fast. Right, I'll get sorted out in the tent and then probably talk a bit while I'm trying out the stove, which is one I haven't used before. I'm snug and comfortable in the tent. It's 4 degrees at the moment, so for January in the dark, not too cold. There is a gusty breeze occasionally, and there have been a few heavy showers, so I have closed the fly sheet door while I cook, or at least boil water for my soup and slowly simmer my pasta meal. But the stove I've got, which is one I haven't used before, is this, which is the GSI Pinnacle. It's a remote canister stove. As you can see, it packs very small. Take the hose out from the burner and legs like this. And you can see that this is really quite compact. However, the pot supports and the legs will all fold in, and I've discovered that they have to be unfolded in sequence or they keep getting caught up, and it is a bit fiddly. I have obviously not got the sequence ingrained yet. In that sometimes, like here, that's it. You undo one, turn it outwards, and then you can't undo the other bit. So let's see if I can get this one right. No, that doesn't work. To close that, yeah, do the leg first and then swing it back and do that. As you can see, this is a bit fiddly. Once you've done it, you've got a neat little stove, which is low profile, so obviously it will be good, you know, especially in a much lower shelter than this. And it's very stable. The 3 legs will fit the fire maple petrol pots, like this one. They fit on quite neatly. If I can find the little bit that says which is the 3, that's the 3. Having the markings for 3 and 4 pots, there we are, is not ideal. And that, once on though, that is quite solid. So let's attach it to the canister, and it's got, you can see there, preheat tube, so if it's really cold, it won't be necessary, I don't think, this evening. You can have the canister upside down, though then the flame control is right on the ground. It does not, unlike some of these stoves, like the Optimus Vega, have little legs that hold this off the ground, so it's easier to use the control. But it will still work like that. and a tent peg or two, I always carry spares anyway, can be used to hold the cart at the canister upright so it doesn't fall over. Again, with something like the Optimus Vega, you don't have to do that. It's supported by the little spare legs. As you can see, once this is done like this, you can fit the pot on. You've got a very low, stable unit, especially if the pot will fit. I do like this pot of the 3 petrol pots most for its shape, but I must admit it is for some reason quite often, there we are, the most fiddly to fit. But once you get it on, it's fine. Another advantage, of course, with a stove like this, not that I need it as I'm cooking inside the fly sheet, but you can use the windscreen all the way around the stove, because obviously as the canister's over here, it's not going to overheat. So it is easier to protect a stove like this from wind than an upright stove where you need to ensure that the canister cannot get too hot. But as I say, I don't think I'll need that this evening. There's no pizza igniter, so a lighter or a fire steel or matches, you know, whichever you choose, is needed. Let's have a look at the flame. And that's on full. Quite a narrow flame. It is a narrow burner. And not as noisy as some. And it looks as though, yeah, you can turn it quite a way down, so it should simmer quite well. But I'll turn it off for the moment because I'm not ready to boil any water. And whilst I'm only out for one night, I don't particularly want to waste too much gas unnecessarily. But now I'm going to boil 400 ml of water for 2 packets of cuppa soup. And if I can just find my phone, I will time how long it takes. Let's move that out of the way. Yeah. And turn it up. I am guessing about 3 minutes, maybe slightly more. Well, there's already a tiny bit of steam and some bubbles, and we're looking at a minute so far. I'm not keeping a record on this trip of exactly how much gas is used, because I've got stuff that needs simmering anyway, but I'll do a more controlled test at home and see how it compares with other stoves. Yep, we're at 2 minutes and it's definitely on the way, and I'll put the weight of the stove on the screen. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's, I think, in the roughly 150 gram range, more relatively standard for this type of remote stove. Clouds of steam. Oh. Get a bit of ventilation above so that some of that can hopefully escape and not condense on the fly sheet. I can't hear any rain at the moment, so it seems as though it's stopped for now. Almost there, and we're now on 3 minutes. Yes. Yeah. We have boiling just over 3 minutes. About 3 minutes, 10 seconds. Which is, similar to what I would expect from other stoves with a heat exchanger pot in these sort of temperatures. I mean, that's pretty good for given it's 4 degrees and the water out of the burn is very cold, as you'd expect, because a lot of it, of course, will be snow melt. Anyway, I shall now stop recording, leave you for a bit while I eat my soup. The night is dark and damp. I've been out for an evening stroll, looking at shadowy pine trees rising out of the darkness. Everything is quiet. Just occasionally a gust of wind in the treetops. In the distance, the now low rumble of the river, but overall it's quiet. The light rain keeps falling. It's so light I can't hear it on the fly sheet, but the outside of the fly sheet is wet and I was damp after my little stroll. And tomorrow the weather's meant to be the same, so I think my first overnight trip of the year will finish with a continuing walk around the woods, but it's very, very peaceful and quiet here, relaxing. So yes, a good first camp of the year. I'm sure there will be many more to come. Anyway, I'll make another little recording in the morning. So until then, good night. Good morning. This is the view from the tent at dawn. Clouds are still moving very fast. There's not much brightness. There was rain during the night, bit of drizzle earlier. It's reasonably calm down here. There's the occasional gust of wind. Certainly enough for me to put the windscreen around the stove while I made my first morning coffee, and I am trying this squeeze tube coffee called No Normal Outdoor Coffee, which is a thickish paste that you mix with hot water. And I must say, the initial impressions, yeah, it's quite nice, reasonably strong, easy enough to make, and of course there's no coffee bags or grounds or anything. So it's good for a start. It was comfortable in the tent. This is the MSR Hubba Hubba HD1, which is the new and tougher version of the Hubba Hubba tent that's been around for many years, and which I liked anyway, but I think this new version is better. For one thing, it's higher, so you've got more headroom. I mean, I'm sitting up, I'm not quite in the centre, I'm not quite touching the top, and I'd have more room if I went up to there. That's the high point. And I'm sitting on a fairly thick mat, which is the NeoAir XTherm, and I've still got plenty of headroom. MSR, I think, are the first company who've recognised that modern mats make a huge difference to the amount of headroom in a tent, probably because they're the same company as Cascade Designs who make the mats. Anyway, it's good to see a tent manufacturer doing that. And compared with the original version, this has got a tougher floor with a higher hydrostatic head and a tougher fly sheet. So all in all, better suited to Scottish conditions. It's not a full winter tent. I wouldn't take it up on the Cairngorms plateau in a blizzard, but down here in the woods, I think it's fine for year-round use. I also like the fact the inner is very much one, as you can see, for a solo tent, but it's got enough room to put items at the end and either side of your sleeping mat, so you can keep them inside. And it's got pockets, lots of pockets, which are useful, as you can see, for things like glasses and other small items. Even some up here where you could put damp clothing, you know, hat or gloves if you're prepared to risk it. A large porch, so that one side It's got the pack, my boots, a water bottle. There's room for cooking here. Yesterday evening, as you saw, I was cooking with the door closed because of the rain. So all in all, it's great design for a solo tent. But now I'm going to finish my mug of coffee and have some breakfast and see if it warms up at all. The temperature was 2 degrees. Feels slightly warmer than that now. And then I'll pack up and wander off through the woods. There's a bit of clear sky up there, touch of colour. We'll see. From the forecast, I don't hold out hopes of a clearing. Showers on and off this morning. Blue sky occasionally, almost sunshine occasionally, but the sun hasn't actually quite broken through yet. It looks like I'll be packing a wet tent. And it's a fine spot for a camp. There's looking across some young Scots pines towards a higher stand of old Caledonian pines, Scots pine in the distance there. And then as I wander around camp, you can see that way there are some magnificent old Scots pine below which I'm camped. And then over that way, where it's a bit boggier, there are some willows and birch, more Scots pine. And if I make my way through the quite thick heather here and get a view of the camp from this side, the weather is coming from the left-hand side, from the side away from the door, basically, so that I can have the door open with only little spits of rain occasionally getting in. I think another shower is starting now. So it'll be time to get in and pack up. You can see here all the space in the porch. And I'd say I am quite impressed with this new version of the Hubba Hubba. But it's going to be packed away wet and have to be dried when I get home. And I'm still debating whether to put a waterproof on or not. The showers haven't been quite strong enough yet. And again, looking over there, you can see touches of sunshine, bits of blue sky. It's one of those difficult decisions, but I'll probably start off without waterproof and see how I get on. And I'll just take a little walk down to the river. Oh, I think the rain is getting a bit heavier again now. Each time it feels as though it's really going to start raining properly. It never quite makes it. But, can hear the river clearly now. It's no higher than it was yesterday. In fact, if anything, maybe slightly lower than when I came over to collect water. Anyway, that attempt at rain has already eased off. The last time I looked, the temperature was 3 degrees. I have still got my warm, very warm, insulated jacket on. It's a Primaloft insulated one, because as the forecast was for rain and for it to be very damp, and I didn't have a particularly heavy load, I thought I'd bring this instead of a down jacket so that I could wander around in it in weather like this without bothering about getting wet, or even in wetter weather. But yeah, the top of the hood is wet from earlier, but it's kept me nice and warm. But I'll take it off fairly soon. I'm not going to be wearing this while walking. I will overheat, as I can tell from just strolling down to the river. I now feel quite warm. Right, anyway, time to pack up and get moving. Blowing ducks and very strong gusty wind and sleet showers at Lochs Island. Definitely winter. Sheltering from the rain in the forest. It's still only light rain. Keeps making me think I should put my waterproof on and then ease it off, so I haven't got more than a little damp. But the trip is almost over. I'm almost back at the car, and then it'll be into Aviemore and a cafe for some hot coffee. But it's been the first good trip of the year. Relaxing, quiet, you could say uneventful, but good. Very good.